Hello and welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel, brought to you in partnership with Hertfordshire Mind. It's 4 wins on the board so far this season, second in the Championship, 9 points to our name. Tom Cleverley's Hornets are flying at the start of this Championship season. We're here to discuss it all after Watford 2, Derby County 1 with Sam Ucko, Charlie Zazzera and myself, Jacob Culshaw. A slightly later stream for you today on this Sunday night, under the lights, Sam. And you've brought out probably, well, on my generation anyway, the best, or one of the best away kits. For people who can't see you, Sam, what kit are you wearing and what players to spring to mind when you see this kit?
Yeah, it's the red and black one from, I think Sean Dyche must have been managing us the year before the Pozzo era. I think it was 2011, 2012 the kit was, or 2010, 2011. And then we know which way round that is, but I think we wore this under the lights at Norwich for the first game of the season. John Eustace scored for us. I think Danny Graham scored for us that day. And a certain Troy Deeney made his debut for Watford as well. See Alex in the comment section here. Big Danny Graham straight on it. The streets won't forget that big Danny Graham, as with a lot of players, which brings us on to Charlie's challenge from yesterday as well.
Wow, what a segue. Charlie, do you know what, before that, what player comes to mind when you see this Sam shirt? For me, it does just absolutely reek of John Eustace, this shirt. For you?
No, it's got to be Danny Graham, DG. And speaking of Danny Graham, obviously we had Robbo on. I want to get DG, Danny Graham, on a video at some point this year. He's on the list. So, but yeah, I love that shirt. The only away shirt I've got to kind of compare it is this one. I'm not really a big fan of away shirts. I've just called the home ones, but this is the only one I got, which I've always liked because it just reminds me of that West Ham win at the London Stadium.
Yeah, when Troy lifted it over the keeper. And just a little reminder, actually, on that, we have a video on Angelo Bonner that Charlie did last week, where that game was mentioned. So if you want to have a bit of a deep dive on Angelo Bonner, that's on the channel as an audio and video as well. Charlie, give us the latest on Charlie Bush's Charlie challenge yesterday.
Too many Charlies. We set Charlie the challenge to find out who the best ever player was to play in the Championship. I think that might have stemmed from, I know, Jacob, you did a little tweet that done well talking about it. But yeah, Charlie's great. Got some really good reactions from it. And yeah, we've got a good one coming up for Sheffield United away. So if you see Charlie there, tall lad, good looking lad with his phone out, say you want to get involved because it's good fun, but really good challenge next week, which I'm excited about.
Yeah, absolutely. If you do see Charlie, I always bump into him actually when we come out of Upper Graham Taylor. We bumped into each other yesterday. We were just talking about the start of the season because it is a really, really good start for Watford in this Championship season. Obviously, with the Plymouth game coming up in the second round of the Carabao Cup as well. Just a quick update before we get into, we had Charlie's challenge. Freya did her 1 minute match reaction on Instagram, which you can check out her initial thoughts after the win yesterday. And also with Hertfordshire Mind, our initiative this season, £1 for every goal Watford score. That now means we're on 13 goals, Sam, £13. If you're going to put a prediction in before the end of the month, one more game to go. What do you reckon?
Save the Plymouth reaction, the Plymouth predictions for the end of the video. But I'll tell you what, as happy as I am, and I've said this before, I just sort of wish that Watford wouldn't score so many goals sometimes. I'm absolutely loving it, and it's all for a great cause. It's nice almost to have 2 wins in one when Watford seem to do well. You go home buzzing, but we're also making a big impact as well. So make sure to get involved as well if you can.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get into it. Watford 2, Derby County 1. If you do go on to like the video, please do leave a like, subscribe to WD18, follow us on the social channels at WD18 fans, and myself, Sam and Charlie, all that good stuff. Link in the description below to Hertfordshire Mind and all the links I mentioned before as well. It did finish Watford 2, Derby County 1 at Vicarage Road. Goals from Vacuum Bio and Musa Sissoko, giving Watford all 3 points under Tom Cleverley. Let's go to Charlie first. I normally go to Sam. Charlie, you watched this one, and what was probably your biggest takeaway and your main takeaway from that Watford performance and result?
A bit of relief, actually. Like, there was a lot of talk before, like, it's going to be classic Watford that we slip up against Derby. We'll talk through the kind of defensive organisation in a bit for the first goal, but it's the first time we faced kind of that low block, and we knew exactly what Derby were going to be, and I was worried about that. But yeah, I think that the overall thought is just relief, because I thought if we can get this win, that's three wins to start the season. Going into Sheffield United, we've got Plymouth. Again, if we beat Plymouth, that's 5 in all comps, which would be incredible. So yeah, positives. I didn't think we played particularly well. Probably the worst performance out of the 4, I'd say. But to be fair, where this team's come from and on the backdrop, I'll take it. And the fact that they came from behind, faced a bit of adversity and kind of came back, just got to give them credit, really. So, yeah, a bit of relief. But what about you, Jacob? I'm throwing it back to you.
Yeah, I think relief, because I think it was one of those games, and I said it at 1-1, where you could easily lose it at a set piece, or you could easily nick it. And I don't think it would have been fair for us to lose that game at all. And even when we took the leads through Musa Soko, which we'll get onto in just a second, it's a really composed finish from Musa. One that we've seen plenty of players in the past balloon over into the rookery, but he got his head over it. The ball came at him. It just bounced just before he made contact with the ball, put it away. But it was that substitution once again from Tom Cleverley that for me was another massive encouraging sign. The fact that he brought Kwadwo Bar on, who changed the course of the game for us. I mean, that goal pretty much came from that substitution, him getting to the byline, him being aggressive, cutting it back. Georgie obviously with the strike, and then Musa putting it away. Relief was probably one for me, and I think particularly at full time you saw Tom Cleverley, Sam, look relieved, because it's a great win against a Derby team that were pragmatic. They put a lot of players behind the ball. They made it difficult for Watford at times. How did you feel coming out of Vicarage Road?
Oh, I was delighted. It was a sense of relief, firstly, because I think we definitely deserved to win that game, even though we went 1-0 down. And we mentioned it wasn't the best performance, and it was probably the weakest of the 4 so far. But I think it's always a sign of a good team, and not just a good team, it's the sign of a team that's really, really together and with each other and behind the manager. When they're able to win games like that, when you're not playing well and when you're up against adversity and up against a low block as well. So it's full credit to Tom Cleverley and the side as well. It was probably as well, it's just more buzzing than anything, because you can tell it's almost a good day at Vicarage Road when it's a really good day. When coming out of the ground, you've got fans still singing, almost in the concourses after the game as well. And I think that almost represented, like, everyone is so together in this. When the team went 1-0 down yesterday, we'll touch on the Derby goal. I thought was really, really poor defending. But the stadium, I can't remember the last time I've seen it like that, when Watford go 1-0 down and the stadium fully gets behind the team like that. I couldn't hear the Derby fans celebrating, because you could just hear Tom Cleverley's Yellow Army when that goal went in. And I think just everyone is right behind this team at the moment. Everyone's loving it, and long may it continue.
And one thing
Sorry, I was just going to say, was that the most animated that Tom's been? The club released kind of his reaction when Sissoko scored. And even at the end, I felt like he was quite animated. Obviously, you guys have been at the game. When I was at Millwall, he was kind of a bit more humble and just kind of gave it one of those. But yesterday, I thought we had a double. And it's just nice to see kind of that passion, how much it means to him.
It's really interesting. At full time, Jacob, I'm not sure if you picked up on it. It looked like he was considering giving it the old fist bumps in front of the recruit, but he stopped himself. I think he didn't want to over-celebrate. There was sort of a little like, yes, and then he stopped himself, I think, not wanting to overdo it.
Go on, mate. Do you know what? I'm going to say it was the second most animated I've seen from Klebs, because I think Birmingham away last season, when he got the win, and I think we all knew at that point it was a 6-pointer, what I thought Klebs was pretty animated at full time, because I think he realised he'd just secured safety for Watford for another season. He's come in. I think he even said after that was the closest he'd got to playing. And I think what you saw at full time yesterday as well was someone who really, really loves being a Watford and being the Watford head coach. The team he named, I guess the one thing to say as well is at the moment, you do know exactly how we're going to play under Tom Cleverley in terms of the system and in terms of the personnel as well. And this is the team he went with against Derby yesterday. Daniel Batman in goal, a back three of Matty Pollock, Francisco Sierralta, James Morris, Ryan Andrews on the right, Larousse on the left-hand side to make his full debut. Soko as captain alongside Dele Bashiru, Kiembe on the right, Chakfadazzi on the left, and Bayo leading the line. Charlie, just that team that we discussed in the preview, I think it was pretty close to what we predicted. I think we did think Porteous would come straight back in, but when you saw the lineup come out, were you happy with the balance of it? Is probably the main thing to say.
Yeah, I think the main area was kind of that inclusion of Morris. And I think that kind of goes from the culture that Tom's probably trying to create. And the fact that Morris has come in, he played really well against Stoke and he's kept his place, even though he's got a Scottish international on him. I'm sure we'll talk about Morris in a bit more. Sam's picked up something really interesting in terms of his role yesterday. But yeah, it's nice having, I feel like a bit of a set team or system with personnel. We kind of, it might be one or two, but I feel like we're finally getting some consistency. Feels like for the last 4 or 5 years, every time the team's announced, it's like a little event, not knowing who's going to play. But it's nice now that we know what shape we're going to be playing. We know what our principles are and our style of play. It might just be one or two. So that could be interesting coming into Sheffield United if there's a few arrivals this week. But for now, it's quite nice.
Sam, let's touch on that first goal that you mentioned, because it was poor defending from Watford. I think it was 1 minute 30 into the game. I have to say, and again, this is not me saying it after the event, I did feel it at the time that we did come out the block slowly, just genuinely. I felt in the first minute or so, we looked like we kind of were just getting up to the pace of the game, really. But just talk us through that goal. Where did it go? Where did it go wrong for Watford? What needs to be improved? And yeah, where was the sort of concern with that goal for you?
I must say, first and foremost, I thought it was a fantastic finish from, I think it was Adams, wasn't it, from Derby? Really, really nice finish into the bottom corner. But you're right, Jacob. I thought we came up the blocks really, really slowly. And it was almost like we weren't, because we sort of knew that Derby would play with a low block and we anticipated that we'd have a lot more of the ball, a lot more of the chances. It was almost like it shocked us that Derby went forward so quickly within the game and it caught us a bit cold. But to be honest, I don't know if I'm being harsh on Larousse here. I thought he could have been a little bit stronger with his sort of defensive shape and potentially closing the original cross down. That might be a bit harsh, but I think the big one has to be Kiembe closing down Adams on the edge of the box, losing him a little bit too easily. I'd like Kiembe to be a little bit tighter in that position, those men on the edge of the box. So, yeah, I think it's probably Larousse needs to do a bit better stopping the cross to come in. And I think Kiembe's got to pick up his man on the edge of the box.
Charlie, did you see it that way as well?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to talk about kind of my main concern from the game, and that was the defensive organisation. I didn't notice Larousse being an issue in terms of that initial cross, but just looking at here when they've taken the throw in, you can see here Pollock. Oh, not there. You can see here Pollock. Mouse going the wrong way. Pollock here, anyway, is organising the defence and he's asking Kiembe to watch Adams on the edge. And Andrews is kind of, there's two men out here that you're going to see in a bit. But I was kind of confused as well by Tom Dele-Bashiru and even Sissoko's position. You've only got two men in the box and we've got Morris, Sirauta, and Pollock here. So it feels like we should be a bit higher maybe. And then if you move it on, and then this is it when it falls to Adams and how big we are. And like Sam said about Kiembe, that distance there, he shouldn't have that much time. You can see Ryan was on their left forward coming forward. But the fact we've got so many men on the box, I just thought we were really, I don't know if it's like not sharp, whether it was early in the game, but just not like switched on and focused.
Is passive the word?
Maybe. Did you feel it in the ground? It was just like a slow start that we've seen in recent years. I just thought we weren't at it from the beginning.
Yeah, I think we were going through the motions in that first minute, and I generally thought that before the goal anyway. In that first one, I was like, are we going to win a duel? Are we going to get stuck in a little bit more early doors? I think that's one thing Cleverley said as well, is he does like his teams to come out quickly, set the tone, which we've been doing in the second half, but maybe that's something to look at in the first half as well. Just on that first goal, Charlie, if you go back to that last slide, one thing I noticed actually, and we've obviously mentioned Kiembe switching off. That is obviously his man. Someone said, should Andrews be slightly tuck in? I don't disagree. I don't agree with that. I think actually it might be the slide before, but Chakvedadze actually gets drawn into his man. So if you see there, you've got the two men on the right hand side. Georgie's got his man to his right hand side. He doesn't actually check his shoulder when you watch it back, and he goes over to support Larousse just on the right-hand side, which then frees up. That's how the ball gets in the first place, which is something to mention. Whether that's a case of Sissoko pushing up, whether that's a case of Chakvedadze staying there. I understand why he's gone over to support Larousse, but that's how initially the man got his space to get the cross in. So
careful what you say, Jacob. You might lose all your Georgia fans.
Yeah. It's only good positive PR with Georgie. I think Nick made the point that we switched off and ball watching for the goal. But Charlie, I know you wanted to touch on the sort of next slides in the second half.
Yeah, it's just a defensive organisation, which I was just a bit concerned about. And here was a kind of free kick. I think it was midway through the first half. And you can see here, I think they must have targeted Ryan. Sorry, these circles are not going where I want to, which is really annoying. You can see Ryan here. You can see Ryan here, and that's where they've kind of got. But if you look at our defensive organisation, you've got, I'm guessing Pollock's the free man here. And then they've each got one more. Bayo's covering, I think that's Craig Forsyth actually, and the man who gets the header. I think Tom Delly and Kayembe are maybe fine, but could we see a repeat of Adams? Is Kayembe kind of fully switched onto his man? But it was mainly, even if Pollock's the free man and he's the most dominant player that we've got, how is he going to get the ball with this many players in front of him? So if you roll it on here, they had a free header in that area. Let's see if the circle works. Yeah, there you go, kind of there. But Andrews kind of lost his man. He got overpowered. And I just thought that defensive organisation was a bit of a concern. And then this was literally in the last seconds, which just felt like peak Watford kind of Premier League when we were dropping points in the last minute. They kind of just put a ball into the box. And this is really like, when I saw it back, I was like, Jesus, it is pretty bad. They put a ball in the box and they've got an overload here on Ryan. Our friend Sonny Bradley right at the back, and they've got another one. And then if you roll it on, he gets the header, he goes through Ryan. But the fact that he had an overload in the last minute, I just think, where's that kind of organisation? And I don't know if that's a kind of inexperience at the back. And it just made me think of two things really. Wesley Hoedt, is that something we're missing from him? And then secondly, when I spoke to Jamie from the West Ham fan that we spoke to, I hope that's his name. Sorry, my mind's gone blank. But he was just saying about Ogbonna, kind of that organisation, that leadership. That's what he's going to bring. So just that defensive organisation. I thought on another day we could have easily dropped points, and especially that last kind of slide of that overload to Ryan Andrews at the back, something that we need to sort out.
And there was a comment from Nick G. Ogbonna's experience and leadership should make a world of difference in these situations. One thing I also noticed between the communication with Andrews and Pollock, a lot of the time, as you say, Charlie, there's an extra man at the back post, and Andrews is always saying to Pollock, I had to take him because there's an extra man, and they are. I've noticed those two do communicate about sort of the man marking situation. But Watford went behind early, Sam. I guess breaking down a low block is probably the best thing to talk about in that first half before we touch on Bayo's goal, because we spoke about it in the build-up about how we thought Derby were going to come and frustrate. We thought they were going to make it difficult. They were going to be compact. They were going to look to play on the counter-attack, Sam. And it was everything we kind of expected. So talk us through that first half.
Yeah, it was frustrating. I think for a lot of it. And I think that first goal really did shell-shock Watford. And it did take us some time to really get into the groove of things. I didn't think we were moving the ball quickly enough, to be honest with you either. I didn't think we were aggressive enough either on the ball or off the ball, and it was quite uncharacteristic of this Watford team this season. And obviously at times in those situations you really need those moments of brilliance, I think, just to get the confidence going again. And fair play to Vacuum Bayo and Pollock who produced that. Pollock with the pass, Bayo with an unbelievable finish as well. But on the whole, that first half, I thought the performance wasn't great, and I think it's actually credit to this Watford team more than anything that we're able to go in level and salvage something from it.
What was the areas of that first half performance, Charlie, that could have been improved, do you think?
I think maybe kind of more movement, more third man runs. With that low block, you can see here, Derby, how easy it was for them. Having a nightmare with the tactics board today. How easy it was for them just to confine our strikers. Can't really tell there, but we basically had Kayembe, Bayo, and Chatfadazzi kind of in like a little prison in between their two banks of five. There's a player down here, and then four, and they're one man. And there were just the lack of movement, really. I thought Ryan maybe could have got higher a bit, but I think this is where we really struggled. To be fair to Kayembe, he did make a couple of kind of nice third man runs that kind of got them moving a bit, but I just think we were in this position far too much, and We'll get to Bayo's goal in a bit, but it only came from a kind of Kevin De Bruyne-esque pass from Pollock, and obviously a great finish to kind of break it down. But this was one example in the first half. Again, exactly the same example of kind of Sissoko and Tom Dele-Bashiru really, really struggling. You see Ryan, can he get a bit higher? And one thing I actually thought in that first half, again, I just mentioned it, but imagine if we have Wesley Hoedt kind of spraying that ball out to Ryan. It just felt like our defence and we didn't have that ball in the locker. But I did want to go into the second half, and I know Sam kind of highlighted this, and there was a moment, if anyone was watching, where when Ken Sema came on, Tom Cleverley gave him a note. And I'm convinced he gave him a note that Sema went on and he gave it to Soko. So I'm putting this all down to Clevs. But the big difference that I noticed in the second half was Moussa Sissoko's position. So you see the difference in that first half. Sissoko really, really deep. And then this is where he was in the second half. Come on, circle. Here. So he was normally there and he makes that run in the second half, which kind of really disrupted Derby's back line and kind of made space and created chances. You see Georgie pull out wide here as well, which was great. And I'm convinced, I don't know, maybe I'm giving Tom too much credit, but Sissoko was going a lot more forward, and I really thought that kind of benefited us. And then just to run through, I know we're going in the wrong order, but the winning goal, I want to talk about Barr in a bit, but again, look at Sissoko's position here. And look at the run he's made to pull their defence over. We move it on. He's taking kind of two bodies over there. Barr's done brilliantly to get a ball in. Chafadetsi's had a shot blocked. To be fair, it's a brilliant block. And just because the fact that Sissoko is in the box and it falls to him, and obviously he's had a really nice finish, Jacob. I know you commented on the quality of the finish, but again, it just showed to me kind of that difference in the second half, that Sissoko was willing to commit forward, and it helped us get our kind of what we wanted and get the winner. Did you guys notice that on the day, kind of second half, a bit more positivity?
I actually didn't. I noticed there was more runs in general, Charlie, third man runs, but Sissoko in particularly maybe not as much. But now kind of looking back on it, you're so right. That's where the space was created for the goal. I think the best way to describe that run, it's a Tom Cleverley run. How many times did we see him in a Watford shirt make that run late from deep into the penalty area and create something to happen? I mean, the one that always stands out to me is Arsenal at home, where he scored the winner. He ended up on the 6-yard box, smashing it in, and we win the game. So this is a guy, even when I think it was the season at home where he got injured, I forgot who it was against, but he made that run. Yeah, Burnley, that was it. Burnley at home. He makes that run in, it creates something. So I think there's definitely something in that. I wanted to take us back from the second half to the first half, Sam, because before we just touch on that Bio goal, just for a second, I know we will, don't worry, the positivity is coming thick and fast. I think the biggest frustration yesterday, Sam, first half-wise, before that, that worldie really from Vacuum Bayo, was the fact that, and whilst there was a low block, I felt the front three were all coming to feet. Georgie was dropping into like a 6 at times just to try and get on the ball. Kiembe was trying to come short. Bayo was trying to come short. We didn't have any runners in behind. And I felt that the two wing-backs particularly weren't as high as maybe we've seen them before. Firstly, what do you make of that? And two, did you feel that that was just the story of the first half, or anything else you picked out from that performance?
Yeah, like I said, I just think it was a real lack of aggression, both on and off the ball. I think it really shouldn't have thrown us off as much, that Derby goal, because it was in the first minute of the game, and realistically it should have been nothing changed as we keep going. But I do wonder if that did knock our confidence a bit in terms of the runs that we should have been making going forward. I think you're spot on, Jacob. I don't think the fullbacks did enough, and I was slightly disappointed in Larouci. Larouci's performance is a bit harsh, but I think we know that we can already see that I think his attacking abilities, and from what Sheffield United fans say, his attacking abilities are so much better than his defensive ones. So I just wish that he was getting forward a bit more. And Ryan, we've spoken about it a lot, but he's got a lot to learn still within his game. And I think this was a game where we really needed him to be getting a lot higher up the pitch. I didn't think we were committing enough men forward. And I just thought, I think you're right, Charlie, in terms of the front three as well, coming to get the ball from feet, the ball to feet. But I think as well, we were just a bit static as well in terms of something that this Watford team have been good at this season, I feel like, is the give and goes, almost just passing the ball and moving straight away, creating space. Really basic, something you're taught at a really low level, but I didn't think we saw that necessarily. Even with the ball coming to Chat for Taxi in those deep areas or Bio up top, I didn't really feel like there was enough movement there for anyone to create that space in behind, which is why I think Derby were quite comfortable on the whole.
I have to say, it's the first. Sorry, Charlie. I was just going to say it's the first game where we've come up against a totally low block. I mean, MK Dons we did as well, and we managed to break them down. And once we did, it opened up. I felt yesterday was the first time I actually thought to myself, lads, I think we could be pretty good away from home this season, because not many teams are going to sit in a low block at home. And I think that really does play into our hands. It might be a case more this season with teams who maybe taken a few bits from the way Derby double upped on Chakvedazzi, the way that they had a really compact shape. They might take learnings from that in the first half. Charlie, I know you want to jump in there.
Sorry, yeah, I agree with you. And I actually think we're not gonna face a lot of teams at home playing a low block, because we're not the Watford that we used to be. We're not the team who've just come down in the Premier League with João Pedro, Sarr, Dennis. So I think Derby's, I think there's so many kind of more expansive teams in the league now, so which could be a benefit to us. But I just wanted to, one thing, I know Sam wasn't too negative on Ryan, but I actually thought Ryan Andrews had one of his best games yesterday. And it wasn't because he'd done anything kind of magical or extraordinary, but I just think he'd done the basics really, really well. His touch was great, taking it kind of out of the air a lot of the time. Yeah. I thought his crossing, although sometimes they didn't reach their man, he was putting good balls in the box, which was troubling the defence. He had a really nice burst in the first half where he kind of just saw a bit of space and run directly. And I just think it was a really mature performance from Ryan, and something that I think we've kind of seen he's developing in his game. Just the kind of he's having a bit more presence of mind and being a bit more chilled on the ball, making better decisions. So I think once he kind of gets that in his game and realise how quick he is and how explosive he can be, I think he's going to kick on another level. So I just wanted to highlight that.
Let's talk about Vakun Bayo. My word, this man, I mean, one week you think, is that it? The next week you think, I knew he had it in the locker, but do we see it enough? But Sam, that is going to be up there. I mean, we've had two beauties so far this season. Chakvedazzi's free kick. We've also had Vakun Bayo's sizzle kick. Just talk through the goal, because that is a brilliant, brilliant finish from Vakun Bayo. Not to say it reminded me of Thierry Henry, but it was Thierry Henry-esque in the sense that he's basically pulled off his man and he's just couldn't have hit it any better in the far corner. Sam, what a finish.
It's just, he's absolutely bizarre, isn't he? You genuinely just have no idea what you're going to get. I mean, someone said it like behind me yesterday, but later on in the second half, there was like a 5-yard pass that he seemed to overhit and misplace. I think that's the most Vakun Bayo performance I've ever seen. You can just pull out that scissor kick and then not be able to complete a pass 5 yards out. I think first off, the credit has to firstly go to Matty Pollock. Quite an unbelievable pass that is. Pirlo-esque. I know Charlie's a big fan of the Chilean Pirlo in Francisco Sierralta, but that was Pirlo-esque from Matty Pollock as well. And a fantastic pass, perfectly weighted, and what a finish from Bayo. I think everyone in the ground just couldn't believe it at all. To be honest with you, there was a bit of shock in there, more than celebration. But yeah, I did think we did deserve to at least be level going into half time. And when you're coming up against a low block like that, and you often can't go through the traditional methods of the way that you're going to attack a game, you need a moment of magic like that, and we ultimately got that through Bayo.
Matty Pollock as well. That's gone under the radar. The weight of his pass there is almost perfect. And you know, it was funny actually. I went yesterday with a good mate of mine, Robbo, not Paul Robinson. There, I've got another mate called Robbo. And yeah, I mean, I went with him yesterday, and he said, "Does he normally do this every week?" And I said, "You just never know what you're going to get with Vakun Bayo." Let's touch on that pass though, Charlie. Matty Pollock. I mean, you know, we'll talk about it at the other end in terms of his headers. He wears a magic hat, and he had that brick away. But my words, that pass, Charlie, was lovely, wasn't it, from the back?
Yeah, the Pollock pitch. Yeah, no, he's been outstanding. Like, we could talk about kind of his aerial numbers when I was looking today. I was like, Jesus, he's won that many aerial duels again, and that many aerial duels Millwall. And I know we put it on our channels today, the stat that he's won the most aerial duels in most of the world's top leagues that the database we use can find. He's just heading absolutely everything. And I think he, on the floor he's getting better and he's looking to be proactive. I think Sam's prediction is looking pretty good at the moment, but yeah, he's been player of the season for me. So I know it's only 3 games, but he's been incredible.
Would you say?
I was going to say that now. That's my question was going to be, now that the league games are done for August, who's been our player of the month in the league, player of the month in the league, player of the season so far, I guess. I think it's got to be Matty P, hasn't it?
Has to be him, I think. I think it has to be him. At that point in the game, it's 1-1. Gone into half time. I mean, whether I expect any changes at half time is probably a different question, Sam. But was it just a case of what was the difference from the first half to the second half, or did you feel there wasn't much difference, but maybe that one individual bit of quality from Bar that broke us through, or did you feel there was a difference in the performance?
I think there was a difference. I think the intensity was definitely up. I thought there was a lot more movement, and I thought there was a slight tweak to the change, which I wanted to touch on for the second goal when we go through it in more detail. But 100%, I just think that the whole almost. I think we were definitely more aggressive, and I think we almost knew that Derby were running out of steam, particularly when they went forward. They didn't offer too much in the second half. I know, other than a 5-10 minute spell that they had just before our goal, actually, and also that Sonny Bradley header at the end. I think on the whole, we could sense that Derby were there for the taking, and whatever Cleverley said to them at half time, it 100% worked because the performance was so much better, I thought.
I have to say also, we didn't mention the fact that Bayo chased down their keeper really, really well just on the strike of half time, and almost created a second for us out of nothing, which I thought was really good from Bayo, because sometimes I feel like maybe you should press a little bit higher. I mean, Ben makes the point that Rest is Football Pod, really good podcast. I mean, look, I'm not going to recommend, because you know what they are. They should hopefully be recommending us at some point. And I think about modern number 9s, much harder in the 3-4-2-1 than old style 4-4-2. Maybe we should give Bayo some slack. Max says Bayo's running is underrated. It might turn into the Bayo show. Jose Mourinho has said that Vacuum Bayo is the best player in world football. But Odds says, let's face it, Bayo is not a number 9. Credit for his goal, but that would be 1 out of 50 times gone outside the goal. Charlie, where do you stand on that?
To be honest, I don't think he played that well overall in the game. I don't know if I heard the crowd kind of just some really basic 5-yard passes that he missed, and I don't know. He just hasn't got that physical presence. That, like, I don't want to compare him to Deeney, but whenever we're looking for someone that like a focal point, he's just, the ball doesn't stick to him. He doesn't bring people into play. I feel like if you showed people his goal reel, some people would you think he'd be like Cristiano Ronaldo, like some of the worldies he scored for us, Rotherham away, even the Preston goals. He's got a worldie in him.
Charlie, second half. What just for the goal? Did you pick out anything that was different in the overall performance?
Second half, like we said about Soko, that was the main one, kind of running forward. I just thought we were more confident and proactive. But yeah, I don't know. With Bayo, it's hard. I'm just looking at his shot map here. You know, when he rounded the keeper. Did you guys think from in the ground he should have scored that? It had an XG of 0.23.
No, I thought he was a little bit off balance, wasn't he, Sam?
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was a must-score chance or a chance that he really should have put away. Did well to chase down the goalkeeper in the first place, but I think when you're off balance and the angle's a little bit tight, I think, yeah, I can understand why he's missed that.
Should we touch on that Morris Pollock role in the second half, Sam? I know you wanted to make a big point on it because it's something that, look, we've touched on whether James Morris should be the left centre-back, whether Porteous should come in. It might have been the game for Porteous because obviously quite an aerially dominant team in Derby. But Sam, yeah, the floor is yours here. What did you sort of notice about Pollock, Morris, etc.?
Yeah, so it was really interesting. We can see here how high up Matty Pollock is for just before the goal, where Quadro Bar has the ball here on the edge of the box. And I thought James Morris had that role as well on the other side of the pitch, where they seem to be a lot higher up than we saw last week against Stoke. And if we highlight Sissoko's position here as well as I'm not sure if Tondeli Bashiru is in shot here as well, but Sissoko being able to make that run further forward We didn't see that as much last week. It was more him and Tom Delly were protecting the edge of the box so he could almost trap Stoke defensively in, whereas now we were able to allow them to commit forward, and the two centre halves were blocking Derby in. We can see it here against Stoke. If you just highlight Sissoko and Tom Delly-Bashiru's positions here on the edge, I think because we knew that Stoke potentially had more of an attacking threat. I know they didn't score at Vicarage Road last week, and we ultimately scored 3 against them, whereas against Derby we scored 2. I think we were slightly more cautious about them, that they could hit us on the counter-attack. So I think because of that, we almost left Sissoko and Tom Delly-Bashiru on the edge there, just in case of the counter-attack and allowing the centre-halves to remain deeper. But if we just go back to a picture from the Derby game yesterday, it was instead of Sissoko and Tom Delly doing that role, it was Matty Pollock and James Morris, where Sissoko and Tom Delly were then getting further forward. I think it's because we sensed that Derby had less going forward than Stoke would, and also they were there to ultimately get a point rather than win the game. And I think that gave Sissoko license to go forward, which eventually won it for us.
Yeah, for sure.
I think, just elaborating on Sam's point, and Sam made the point last week about what was really nice to see was just the numbers in the box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And again, for Sissoko's goal yesterday, Bar's just put a cross in, so he's probably in the rookery. But 1, 2, 3, 4, Tom Delly on the edge of the box as well, and obviously Bar. So it's just pleasing to see so much positivity and being on the front foot, which is something that I think in previous times it felt like we've put the ball across the box and there's been no one there. So yeah, all credit to Tom, how he's setting up his team and the team for delivering the game plan.
Yeah, for sure. And that was the change once again from Cleverley. We saw it in the Stoke game. We saw it yesterday. He's made changes to this team in game. And I'm sure with the consultancy of Pereira, Garrido, Armand Cavalla on the bench. One thing I've noticed actually just on the sort of coaching staff is you've got Cleverley, who obviously sits in the main spot next to Pereira, and then Garrido, and then Armand is in the sort of tunnel. And you've got like a real, I don't know, it's just quite a close-lit relationship. You can already tell between all of them on the touchline. And it was that change from them that changed the game. And Tom Cleverley on 73 minutes, Kwadwo Bar came on for Edu Kayembe. And initially, this is sort of from my seat in the upper Graham Taylor, it was right in front of me with Bar. And the first thing you think about Bar, his first thought whenever he gets the ball is to go forward and take on his man. And I think that's the one thing that he gives us that Kayembe probably doesn't, which is natural for a guy who's a forward, who's naturally a winger. Dino mentioned it when he worked with him in the video. You mentioned, Charlie, about his directness. He likes to go at people, and he made that goal, getting to the byline, as we mentioned. Let's touch on Bar, though, Charlie. I know you've got a heat map, which sort of shows his influence and impact on the game. He made the winning goal. Should he have had a penalty is another question, just on the left-hand side of the penalty area. The heat map pretty much says his impact off the bench, Charlie.
Yeah, I mean, this doesn't look a lot, but you got to remember he's only on for 17 minutes. And I just thought his directness was absolutely superb. Even it was a bit like Adipoko's against Hibs in the friendly. Just got the ball and took on his man. He should have had a penalty again like last week. But it's not kind of, although I think he was the one who made the goal, kind of dragging those people and being direct. But for me, it was his defensive work, which I was so impressed with, and his attitude. Like you can see on this heat map, he's absolutely everywhere on the pitch. He's in the corner here. He's in the left back spot. He's in the right back spot, middle of the pitch. And he was only on for 17 minutes. And I know this doesn't sound a lot, but bear in mind we were playing against a low block. But he made 2 tackles, which was no player made more in the whole game. And only Georgie had more duels than him for Watford in the game. So I just thought his energy when he came on, his enthusiasm to kind of hunt the ball down, stop crosses, work hard, fighting for his place in the team. And again, credit for the kind of culture that we've got in place, the fact that we've got players now coming on, making a difference and trying that hard that they want to be part of the squad. So I'm really happy for Bar. I want to see, I know we're going to talk about Plymouth, but I want to see him starting. I just thought he's been fantastic this season every time we've seen him. And I just wanted, does he remind you of a player? He reminds me of a player, but any of you two think of any other elite or Premier League players that he reminds you of?
I'd say Decore. In terms of the way he carries it. I saw bits of Decore yesterday.
Which Decore, Abdoulaye Decore?
Abdullah, the one we had with us, there were sort of periods with Abdullah where he carried the ball forwards, and I did sort of see a bit of that within him.
I don't really know, Charlie. I mean, he's quite a unique player, really. Who did you think of?
He reminded me of like a peak Mel Antonio. Just how powerful he is, and he's like a bulldozer because he might not be the most kind of quick and flair. Well, he is quick, but he just seems like his power's going to get him past players. And I remember Mel Antonio coming to the Vic years ago for Nottingham Forest. I think he was playing like a left winger, and he absolutely destroyed us. But it just reminded me of Bar. But fantastic. I think he's been unbelievable. I'll have to rewatch the tape, but I'm sure I made a prediction about him at the start of the season. So I'm hoping he's going to get more minutes, and our prediction video is going to age a lot better than it did last season.
Honestly, I think you lads are doing a lot better than me so far this season, 4 games. And it is early days, obviously. I think there was a really, really good point you made there, Charlie, about the impact of him off the bench. And also when you go through the options that Tom Cleverley has off the bench as well. And this has been one of my big things last season, I thought, under Valérien Ismaël, was whether we had the bench and the players to change the course of a game. And we've already seen with the players, and yes, it's a small sample size, but whether it was Laruzzi coming on last week, whether it's Bar coming on this week, you then look at the rest of the options. We had Rajvic at Millwall, someone who came off the bench, won us the game. Ken Sema, who made a big difference when he came on. Bar, Porteous. You even look at Rocco Vata, Dumbia. These are different options for Cleverley to look at and change the game. We all know in a championship season, there's going to be games where we're going to be frustrated, like we did yesterday at times, and we had players off the bench to change the course of the game. I know we mentioned it at the start, Sam, but let's touch on a few individuals. We have to mention, as Charlie said, that from FB Ref, Matty Pollock has won more aerial duels than any player in the top domestic leagues in world football this season. Sam, how does the chant go again?
Oh, no, it's your chant, Jacob. You're singing it.
All I'm going to say is Matty Pollock's magic.
Back pass, Jesus.
He wears the magic hat. I've boxed you in there. Sam, individuals, though, who impressed you yesterday?
Oh, God, you made me feel like the Derby defence in the second half there under Tom Cleverley's tactics. Yeah, I think Bart obviously changed the game for us. I think a conversation has to be had. I mean, there were 2 questions that I had after Bar's performance. One is, and I'm not complaining because obviously we won, but I thought we'd have seen more of Rocco Vata in the league so far. And I wonder why that's not been the case, why he hasn't gone for Vata in any of the 3 games so far. Again, I'm not complaining. I'd just be interested to know why. And secondly, I think the conversation's got to be had about Kiembe. I think we're starting to see his weak points now in this position. And as good as I think Bar would be off the bench, because I think his powerful running, I think, will really disrupt teams, particularly when they're trying to close games off against us. I don't know. I just think Kiembe at times goes a little bit missing in that position. I'm not sure what you 2 think. Particularly yesterday, I didn't think he had a good game.
Charlie, I'll pass this one over to you because there's a couple of comments on Kiembe. Stuart says, I didn't see Kiembe coming short like Chakvedadze. I think his lack of movement makes us unbalanced and relies on Chakvedadze too much. I did feel that we had to rely on him because they did double up on him yesterday as well. There was a comment. Stuart says Kiembe's performance as a 10 is being hidden by his goals. I think the team would be improved in being replaced by Ince on the right-hand side. Luan says, I do think Kiembe is a big weak link in my opinion. So poor off the ball and on the ball doesn't really offer much apart from the 10 minutes versus Stoke. He looks the obvious weak link to me. Where do you stand on that, Charlie, the Kiembe debate and his role in this team? Early days, of course.
Yeah, different narrative from last week's video, but Clevs loves him. How many times have we heard Cleverley come out and say Kiembe is kind of the top student, shall we say? And I think his big pros are his kind of composure on the ball. I do think sometimes he can get the ball down and kind of spray play and calm it down a bit. I think if Bar played from the start, especially like yesterday, he'd be sent off after 20 minutes, kind of that running around, that kind of explosive speed. I do think Kiembe brings a bit of calmness to the play. I do think his weak link is out of possession. We showed in the first goal he should have kind of got out to his man, and sometime in transition you don't see him busting the gut. But I think his kind of composure, and do you know what I think his main skills are? His ball striking. And I think that's another reason he's playing, because get him in the final third, not even in the box, outside the box. He's got such good strike on him. He's one of the few players in the team at the moment who can score for us, because he can't put that on bio. it's not like Georgie's prolific. We haven't got that many goal scorers. So I think his composure's while he's playing. I think his ball striking and finishing's while he's playing. I do think, though, in this lineup, when you look at it, his spot is the one where you think, could that change throughout the season?
I think he's a one player, maybe that, not shoehorn the right words, where I think Clevy's such a big fan of him. He wants him in the team somewhere, and you probably don't want to disrupt the balance between Dele-Bashiru and Sissoko. Then when you're like, he's probably thinking, I can't let Kiembe out. But then maybe we I guess shoehorn is the right word, into that right forward slot. One man I wanted to give a big shout out to, and he went under the radar yesterday for me, was Tom Dele-Bashiru, because the amount of times he gets the ball off the back three in tough situations with players around him, and he's the one player in this team that's got the ability in tight areas to get us out of trouble and get us up the pitch. And he's so good on the half turn, Dele-Bashiru, and you can see why really a lot of our attacking play goes through him, because not only has he got the technical ability, but he's the eyes and ears, I think. Obviously, maybe not the eyes and ears. I think Sissoko's the eyes and ears for Cleverly. I think Dele sees the game the way Cleverly sees it and what he's trying to do. And I think he's such a crucial part of the way we play. And he's just one player that does the simple things, but does them really well. And the complement between Sissoko and Dele-Bashiru at this moment in time, Sam, is lovely. But I wanted to give us an opportunity to talk about Sissoko, because it was one signing that we came in over the summer. You know, people had their reservations. Again, we have to always stress it is early days. We're enjoying the moment, but it's an early one at this moment in time. I think there was a Derby fan yesterday on Twitter saying it should be illegal to have a guy who's played over 80 times for France and played in the Champions League final, in the Championship. Is he right there in terms of what he can offer to this team, and I guess to this Watford team in this league as well?
Yeah, definitely. And I think something I picked up on yesterday as well, I think he's someone who really understands not just the game, but he's understanding his body as well, that he's obviously not the player that he once was, despite the fact that he has an unbelievable engine on him and he doesn't stop running for 90 minutes. But I feel like some areas of his game that might not be as strong as they were because of his age, he's able to make up in almost football IQ. I think he reads the game so well. He knows exactly where to be and what's going to happen, which is why I think ultimately he was in the right place at the right time for the goal, after Tom Cleverly most probably told him to get forward a bit more as well. I was a bit mixed on the signing at the time, like I said, and I still do have my reservations, admittedly. I'm not sure if he's going to have the legs to do this over a 46-game campaign, because I still think we are a bit light in midfield as well. But in terms of a start, I think he's been absolutely fantastic and been one of the shining lights in this team so far. With Wes Hoedt now confirmed to be going, no surprises in today's stream, unfortunately. But with Dan Batman still probably being the club captain, I think we're probably going to see Sissoko continuing as the on-the-field captain.
You think to yourself,
I did actually see someone in the comment section say that Jefferson signed for us, and that's why I went, because I was thinking it's not another one, is it? Where we get the character Honorary meme out once again. Thanks so much to everyone who's watching today. Record numbers so far this season here on WD18, watching live. And if you're watching this back, if you could leave a like, if we could aim for 100 likes by the end of the stream, we'd really appreciate it. Helps us out in terms of pushing the stream to as many people and as many Watford fans as possible. And of course, subscribe to WD18 for all the latest Watford fan content. Charlie will have a video coming up on Pierre Duomo, who's expected to be arriving at Vicarage Road very, very soon. So turn on your post notifications so you never miss an upload. Nick G says Sissoko has been my player of the season for me so far. Toss up between him and Matty, but you can see the difference he makes to us in the middle of the pitch. Ian says if people have doubts about signings, they usually do okay. Sissoko and Livermore. Sissoko, Melanie, great to see you. Sissoko wants to play for us and respects Tom Cleverly. And someone saying we need to get that quote, Sissoko quote, onto a team shirt, to a t-shirt very, very soon. Rio says, good to see you, mate. Tom Dele-Bashiru is so good on the ball, composure, acceleration, driving us forward. So crucial. He stays fit for the whole season. And Surin says those weaknesses can be easily coached as well. Charlie Bush, friend of the channel, the greatest strength about the midfield at the moment is the balance. Not too defensive or too attacking. No need to change just yet. Max makes the point that Kiembe has a 15-pack, by the way. The guy's an absolute beast. I think there's loads of comments coming in. I'll try and read as many as possible before the end of the video. I just wanted to lastly mention, Sam, and Charlie, about the atmosphere yesterday at Vicarage Road, because we mentioned it before we went off air, that when was the last time you saw us go 1-0 down and collectively the fans, particularly the Rookery, were getting so behind the team early on. We were patient. We felt that a goal would come. You felt that we would get back into the game, Sam. Why do you think that is? Why do you think fans are buying into the what's happening at Watford at the moment at the start of the season?
I think that there's a lot at play here. I think firstly, a huge shout out has to go to Roy Moore in the 1881 for getting those flags back in the Rookery before the game. I know it's the small things and it doesn't impact too much what happens on the pitch, but I think that goes a long way in terms of getting the fans up for it, in terms of the atmosphere pre-game and what that must feel like to a player walking out to all those flags. It definitely gives them a boost, 100%. So I think huge credit has to go to them. But in terms of what Tom Cleverley is doing, he's the glue, isn't he? Just between what's on the pitch and what's in the stands. He's spoken before about how Watford's his club, and it's almost like he's a Watford fan himself, and he understands the principles of Watford Football Club and just desperately wants us to succeed. And you can see he's giving his all as well. You can see his coaching staff giving their all, and I think fans can sense that. Fans, I think, can sense what's going on. They can sense when things are together, when things are working, and we've seen too many times over the last few years, we can tell when things aren't worth getting behind, which is why I think that when things aren't necessarily working out like those first few minutes yesterday, the fans don't panic and just get behind the team even more. It's complete belief in Tom, and let's just hope that it continues throughout the season, because look, we can't be naive. There are going to be difficult periods throughout the season when we go 2, 3, 4 games without a win, and it's just going to be on us to stick behind the team during that period, because we saw yesterday the impact that supporters can have.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I mean, it was Jacob's cliche in last season, I think, but that wouldn't have happened last season or the year before that, because the fans would have got on the players' backs and we would have gone on to lose that 2 or 3-0, I reckon.
No, it's true. It's true. Really, really different to sort of the vibe. Maybe not the start of last season, because I thought there was good vibes in the team, but I think that particularly you look at the seasons before that, I think that it would have turned pretty quickly. And I think, as you spot on, Sam, he is the glue, Cleverley, between him, the board, the players and the fans at this moment in time. We mentioned some transfer news at the moment. Charlie, we're going to run through it quick and fast because there's a lot to get into. Officially confirmed today, Wesley Hoedt is on his way to Al Shabab. Confirmed, he put a statement out today which said, "Dear Watford fans, first of all, words of gratitude to you all. During the past 1.5 years, you have given me so much. You made me feel at home from the first minute until the last. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. I would have loved to have stayed longer, and me and the club have tried everything to find a solution for this, but unfortunately we couldn't, and that's why the moment to say goodbye has arrived. I firmly believe that Tom and the team, with your help, will bring the club back to where it belongs. Best of luck to you, all of you, and once more, thank you." But Charlie, firstly, we've got to pick out that line. I would have loved to have stayed longer, and me and the club have tried everything to find a solution for this. What does that translate to, do you think, if we're taking a step back and looking at that situation?
Yeah, I think he wanted X amount of money more than he's on. I done a quick search, and it might be inaccurate, but I saw he was on 20 grand a week apparently at Watford. That might be totally incorrect, but not one of our highest earners. I thought he was going to be on more considering his age. But obviously he's older and he's going to want financial, do you know what I mean, to get the most out of his career. So he's going to want to get more money. He got player of the season last season, so he's probably entitled to that. And then if you look from the club's perspective, are we going to give someone X amount of money on a 2 or 3 year deal? It's probably not great business sense, but you're losing a really good player. I've said a couple of times I'd rather just run out his contract because I thought we need him for this season. But the accountants at Watford are probably thinking, no, let's get him off the books. I don't know if there was a fee mentioned about his move to. Obviously, his wages are going to be. There would have been a fee, wouldn't there? But obviously, his wages, he's going to be getting a lot more than he's on. So really disappointed to see him go, but I'm not angry, if that makes sense. I can't blame the club for not offering him what he wants, and I can't blame him for not wanting that much money. We live in a fairyland if we think footballers are going to go, nah, I'll happy just stay on this much and live in Watford and leave out my career.
Sam, and this is the joys of live streaming, there is someone at my door, but I'm going to tee you up with Wesley Hoedt just while I get the door. Do you agree with Charlie? And also Yasser Asprilla? Give me 2 seconds, I'll be back. Sorry.
Hopefully it's Daniel Jefferson on
Daniel Jefferson on his way to Vicarage Road.
This is the Daniel Jefferson announcement video. I think, I'm more sort of relieved that the Hoedt saga's sort of over. We spoke about it on the stream the other day, but I can understand why he's gone. We know that the money that you can get in Saudi, and this is going to be Wesley Hoedt's last 3, 4, 5 years of his career at a relatively decent level, and we know that Saudi, he'll be up against the likes of Ronaldo this season, so I can't blame him. And as for Yasser Asprilla, yeah, we also spoke about that on the stream as well last time out, so make sure to check that out. But he's going to be playing Champions League football. He's going to be playing as part of the City football group. I mean, he could end up at Manchester City in a few years' time. So, yeah, can't blame either of them for leaving. And I'm just sort of happy that we can move on now. But, I mean, on Yasser Asprilla, I mean, in the pub pre-game as well, João Pedro scoring for Brighton against Man United. It was almost like watching a Watford player score on telly with the celebrations that I heard from some people.
It wasn't Daniel Jefferson.
Oh.
He wasn't there. But yeah, I mean, it's a weird one with Wesley. I mean, not a weird one because I was the same as you, Charlie. It was like 50-50 with me because I was like, do we just keep him, run out? I mean, not that I have any influence over anything in this deal, but I was thinking to myself, playing it in my mind, dreaming about it. Do we stick with him and just run out the contract and use him as a key figure because he was our club captain last season? Or do you cash in? Now, look, I'm not going to hold it against the club for cashing in on a guy who's 30 years old. He's got 1 year left in his contract. And let's be honest, you're not going to get a better fee than probably you'll get from a team in Saudi because it's that we all know the reason, the financial incentive, not only for the club, but also for Hoedt as well. I reckon if I took a step back and looked at this situation, I think what's happened is the Hoedt situation over the summer. He's got 1 year left in his deal. He's gone, look, we want to give you a contract. A team's come in and gone, we're going to offer you X, Y, Z. Hoedt's probably gone, well, I've seen the numbers they're going to give me. Where Watford, you need to give me something similar or that amount of money in order for me to stay and sign a new deal. Watford have gone, no way. Because the thing that I noticed about Tom Cleverley speaking about this, lads, was he claims cleverly, well, not claims, he knows that Hoedt said he wanted to be part of his project. So it wasn't a case of actually Tom Cleverley. It wasn't a case of where he thinks his team is going. It must just be a case of the contract situation with Wes. I guess the question is, Charlie, just to wrap up on him, how will you remember Wesley Hoedt at Watford, what he offered to this team, particularly last season as well, as you say, with the Player of the Season award?
Whole away. That goal. Unbelievable scenes. He had a wicked left foot, didn't he? I thought when he arrived, I was bit worried. I thought he kind of changed perception pretty quickly, and obviously won Players of the Season last year, and I thought it was exceptional. A lovely left foot switcheroo, which was his trademark. But yeah, loved his goal, gets whole away, unbelievable. We've been treated to some good goals. I know we've been pretty average or to bad in the last couple of years, but we've been treated to some good goals. But yeah, I liked him. I thought it was like a pretty classy statement he put out. I don't think he wanted to leave, but it's just one of those things. But we've replaced him with an uncle. Sam, what are your thoughts on Angelo Ogbonna?
The Ogfather. Yeah, speaking to my West Ham mates, they keep on going about... they talk about how much they love him as well. And he seems to be, I think, a really good addition. I think it's early. We haven't seen him play yet, and we've seen sort of similar players come in of a similar profile, and it hasn't worked out. But as a left-footed player coming in, someone with a wealth of experience, and I think, yes, we spoke about earlier in the stream, I think defensive experience is something that we need to look at now, particularly in terms of organisation when seeing a game out, and I think he'll be a good player for that. I'm not sure if he'll start games, but he's definitely going to be someone to have in and around the team.
Angelo, whoa, Angelo, whoa. Man, I can't wait to see him in a Watford shirt. I think that could go under the radar as a clever bit of business from Watford. 17 games in the Premier League last season. I was actually there for his best of the lot away at Arsenal in the win, and he was a colossus in that game. Honestly, he won every single duel, he won every single tackle, he won everything in the air. He was magnificent, and one that's on his way into Vicarage Road. Kevin Caben, there was rumours going around, Charlie. Is he still coming in? Was he pictured at the game yesterday? Because Pierre Duomo was definitely pictured at the game yesterday. Pierre Duomo, it feels like Jefferson, I think, will happen. because I think he wouldn't start following the club on Instagram, Twitter, etc. if that wasn't happening. I like to think anyway. Even though on Sky Sports they mentioned today that deal in general hasn't gone through yet. But Caben, what do you reckon?
I don't know. I don't know, Jeff. I think there's been a few rumours that there's been a few rumours that it might not be happening. It's fallen through. Not 100% sure. We did do a video on him, and he looked like a pretty decent young prospect. I think when you put him up against the kind of list of players, I don't think he's important from Jefferson. I had a bit more of a heart attack today when I was hearing about Sky. I'm hoping that's a mistake on their part. Obviously, we saw Scott, kind of his comments, which we might talk about. And Daniel Jefferson's been all over in the socials, loving the Watford win yesterday, liking it on Instagram. So I'm sure it's just part of the agreement that that he's going to be available for Bournemouth for this game and the Carabao Cup game on Wednesday. And then he's rocking out. There's loads of people saying that he was at the Vic yesterday, Jefferson. Do we know?
I mean, that does change things.
Who knows? It's Watford Football Club, so anything could happen. But once I see him at London Colney with that shirt, I'll be a lot more relaxed. I'm seeing Jacob's face, and I don't know if we're going to have another Thierry Henry, Brendan Rodgers moment. But yeah, Jefferson's a big one for me. The other lad was there, wasn't he? Pierre Duomo. He looks really exciting. I don't think he'll be a starter, but good balance. But yeah, I think Bonner's, him and Jefferson are the ones that I think are really good bits of business.
Well, there's a great comment here from Henry, friend of the channel, and Henry does some really great tactical threads on our Twitter or X account, if you want to call it, at WD18 fans. Henry says, Caben was there. He was there with Jefferson. Not gone through yet. Same with Jefferson. Think Duomo will hopefully be announced soon, as the media were filming at the Vic after the game in the evening. Now, Henry, or shall I say Inspector Henry, on the case there, following the Watford media team, and whether we will get the sort of exclusive soon. It does really remind me, and this is a bit of a niche throwback, but do you guys remember when Nathaniel Chalobah was about to sign, and someone worked out from Fitz Hall's Instagram story that the sort of like type of wood on the table worked out it was Watford's it was a Watford office at London Colney. I mean, that's the sort of level we're talking about with Henry here. Sam, the question is, do you think there will be any more other names that will come in before the end of the window?
I don't think so, to be honest with you. Potentially we could see one more name come in, but it's going to be, I'm not sure. I was sort of thinking that's going to be business done for us if we get those three deals over the line for those three players, Duomo, Caben and Daniel Jefferson as well. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see, particularly in the centre half area, now that Hoedt is confirmed to be leaving, if we bring anyone else in. We know that there could be some more moving parts with Premier League clubs freeing up loan players. We know that Udinese might free up some loan players as well. So yeah, but my gut's saying it's going to be a quiet week for Watford now in the last week of the window.
And I guess that kind of leads me on, Charlie, to sort of what are your expectations for the season, or what should Watford's expectations be for this season, Charlie? It's been a great start to the season, 3 wins in the league, 1 in the cup. Has your expectation changed after this early point? I have to admit, not my end, because, and I'm not saying we're the same, but I remember this time last season, Birmingham had 10 points on the board after 4 games, and the vibes were very, very different to what it ended up at the end of the season. Now, that just shows how quickly football can change, is my point. Not that I'm not saying we're going to have the same season, but it can change very quickly. Have you changed? Have you been reactionary and gone, you know what, we're winning the lot?
Absolutely not. I think I was just we're going for a interesting, enticing YouTube title. That's what the kids do, isn't it? But no, I think after 10 games, let's talk. You can lose 3 games on the bounce in a week in the Championship. So, yeah, let's talk after 10 games. Really good start. I do think it's important to say we haven't played the best opposition. Sheffield United's going to be a lot better test. I don't think they won again on the weekend, but they've got some really, really good players. Gustavo Harmer is a Premier League player. Kiefer Moore, Callum O'Hare. So that's going to be a tough test against Mr. Chris Wilder. And that's what we'll see. But look, if that doesn't go the way we want, let's try and bounce back. I don't know what else. I think we got Coventry at home after that and then Norwich away. Yeah, let's speak after 10 games. Let's see how this team cope when they face some more quality opposition.
Yeah, I'd even go as far to say, Charlie, the next 8 really are a good litmus test for where Watford are under Tom Cleverley, because it's Sheffield United up next, then Coventry, Norwich, Sunderland, Preston, Middlesbrough, Luton, and then Leeds in the next 8 games. So really do. It doesn't sound great, does it? They really kind of find out where this Watford team are. Sam, just on expectations before we touch on Scott Duxbury's chat with supporter groups.
Yeah, ask me on Easter Monday. I think that's a better barometer of where Watford are, about 10 games before the end of the season. I am just sort of wearing the back of my head in terms of what happened with Birmingham last season, and also a couple of years ago with QPR before Mick Beale left. I think they were in the top 6 in November or something like that. I think the Championship is a really, really long season. You can be sky high 1 minute and in the bottom 3 another minute. I'll still maintain, I think, survival this season will make it a really good season with the difficult pre-season that we had both on and off the field, and the backdrop that Tom Cleverley is working against. So, look, as long as we stay up, I'm happy.
Lads, what do we reckon? Should we cover Duxbury's comments on this stream, or should we do it on the next one in the week? So we're doing our sort of preview shows. What do you reckon?
We can get it done if people want it in the comments. But yeah, quick 5 minutes.
You know what? If you've gone past Holby City, you're probably going on to it won't be Graham Norton on a Sunday, will it? It's normally a Saturday. I think it will match the day rolls around about 10:30. So you've got, to be fair, you've got an hour of nothing going on TV. So if you fancy seeing a little bit more of us chatting about Watford, then stick around. Let's touch on Scott Duxbury's comments in the week. Sam, I'll go to you first. We weren't in attendance, but a huge shout out to the guys who started the conversation with Scott Duxbury, and a huge shout out to Tom Bodell from the Watford Buzz podcast, who I bumped into at pre-match at Mad Squirrel, had a quick pint and said hello, and great to see Tom. Really, really good guy. And we were just having a chat about sort of how it went. And I think the one thing we all took away from that conversation, Sam, was there was some really good topics covered, and different topics covered by lots of different supporter groups. I just wanted to get your thoughts really on what you learned from that chat. And you can listen to the full audio on From the Rookery Ends on the Watford Buzz podcast, I believe. There's also snippets from the Watford Way, the voice of the Vic. I bumped into James yesterday from the Watford Way. Really, really great guy. Make sure you do subscribe there. Sam, just what your thoughts on it.
Yeah, it's I mean, I don't believe a word that Scott Duxbury says, to be honest with you, most of the time. Too many times he's just completely, whatever he said, he's gone back on or hasn't materialised at all. So, yeah, a lot of the time I just sort of zone out with what Duxbury says, and I let what goes on, I let what's on the pitch do the talking, because ultimately this board have let the supporters down too many times over the last few years. And it's good to have that form of communication, but actions speak louder than words. Fair play to everyone who did it, but yeah, actions speak louder than words. Scott, they talk about backing Clevs, but if Watford go for a bad run of form, let's see how much you stick by Clevs then.
He did announce that Daniel Jefferson had signed, Hoedt had gone. Now Hoedt has gone. Maybe it's just the case that we're waiting for Bournemouth, the formalities there just to get through. But I believe it when I see it in terms of both those. Hoedt, we've seen it. Now it's just Jefferson. The one, I guess, the best, not the best is the wrong word actually. The most revealing takeaway, Charlie, was on his pay, Scott Duxbury, and that was from James from the Watford Way. A really bold question from James. It showed, as Troy Deeney would say, a huge amount of cojones to say that in that situation as well. And Scott Duxbury confirmed that he's taken a 50% pay cut from what he was originally on. Charlie, just your thoughts on that answer from Scott.
Yeah, surprise. That's a big pay cut on a big wage. He recognised it, and this is where I might slightly differ a bit from Sam. Is that, and it might be an unpopular opinion where I might get some pelters, but I don't think Scott Duxbury's as bad. I think sometimes he speaks out of turn, and I blame more of Watford's troubles the guy who's over him. And I think the fact that he came out and had that conversation, I think he came across okay. And the fact that he talked, if the communication was a lot better, then I think he'd get a lot less grief. We're all right about actions speak louder than words, but the fact that he's taken that pay cut, I think fair play. And I'm just glad he's spoken. Obviously, it's ironic he's spoken after we've won. It'd be interested if he'd do it again after we've lost, but we know he's been burnt in the past. So, yeah, well done for the guys who done the interview. good to hear from him. Good to get some snippets. Good to hear kind of how much Clevs is kind of impressing those guys. And I thought the thing that really impressed me was talking about Clevs' involvement in the Jefferson deal. The fact that he was the one who really presented to Jefferson and to Bournemouth, and hopefully got it over the line. So yeah, I thought it was a positive takeaway that he's done that. Hopefully we can keep the positive vibes going, and hopefully everything that he says is true or comes to fruition. So I just took it as a positive thing, and well done for everyone who's done it, and well done for the club for giving the opportunity and putting it on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. As I said, if you want to listen to the full audio with Scott Duxbury, it's on the From the Ucko End podcast, Watford Buzz podcast, and all the others as well. Just a couple of comments. Stuart, good to see you, mate. Duxbury implied that sales up to and including Sprees were going towards funding, and any other sales, i.e. who would be available for player investment. Jack says, I do feel for Duxbury at times. I feel he does want to do the right thing, but with Gino constantly undermining him, there is only so much he can do. There was Laura agrees. Great to see you, Laura. He doesn't pull the strings. Yeah, I mean, look, I think the main thing to say, and I'm glad from my end, the main topic of conversation at the moment is what's happening on the pitch with Watford. And too many times recently, topic has been what's happening off it. So that's only a good thing. We're enjoying the moment. It's 4 wins, and Tom Cleverley is doing a fantastic job early on in his career at Watford. What's coming up though, Sam? Plymouth in the League Cup on Tuesday. The triple threat of Cleverley versus Rooney, ex-England, ex-United, going head-to-head with each other. As we always do, let's do our predicted 11 just to wrap up today's video. And the team, should we say the team that we would go with, Sam, for this one?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's about let's go with the team that we would go with.
Okay, let's run through it. So Charlie's got the graphic up if you're watching on the live stream. Obviously, the formation that we've become accustomed to, the 3-4-2-1. This was the team that started against Derby at the weekend. So changes. Does he go wholesale? Does he go similar to the team you saw against MK Dons? Talk to me, Charlie. What's the initial ones you look at and stand out? Or shall I go with Sam?
Go with Sam. I haven't thought about this one bit.
Sam's already looked at Plymouth and gone, you know what? That's another great opportunity to get a win 5 on the bounce.
We've got to make it 5 in a row. I think the first change, I think, will be Jonathan Bond will come back in goal for Daniel Backman. I think we can all expect that change will come in. The back three is back five. Sorry, I'll go with back 3, back 5. I think it's a really interesting one. I think he'll stick with Ryan Andrews at right back, particularly with Jeremy Ngaki's injury, and to get Ryan some more momentum in the right wing back spot. I think with the back 3, obviously there's options there with Antonio Tikvic. We know about Francisco Sierralta. I think he's going to keep James Morris in that left centre back role, and I think he's going to go with Matty Pollock. I think while Pollock's playing well, I think he's going to want to keep him with that feel good factor. I think he's going to bring Ryan Porteous back in for Francisco Sierralta and give Sierralta a rest. In terms of the central midfielders, it's a bit of a tough one, to be honest with you, because we are still a bit light in that area. I feel that's an area that we're going to potentially still have to look at in the window, even with the players coming in. But I think Tom Dele-Bashiru will keep his place. Ideally, I would have rested him due to the knock that he picked up. I think it was in the MK Dons game. And I think Soko will come out for Imran Loser. I think he'll go with Loser and Tom Dele in the middle of the park for this. Little bit of imbalance there, but I think we've spoken about it before. He's going to want to give Sissoko a rest with too many minutes this season. I think he is going to take Yasser Larouci out and save him for the Sheffield United game and give Ken Sema some more minutes, just to give him a bit more match sharpness, because I also think he's going to be an option in place of Larouci at times this season. And the front 3, it's an area that we've probably got the most amount of options in this season. And I think he could go with, I think he's going to give Bayo a rest, and I think he's going to go with 3 of the 4 between Ince, Vata, Quadro Bar and Mileta Rivic. My gut feeling says he's going to go with Ince, Rocco Vata and Mileta Rivic as the front 3. I don't think he'll start Bar.
Do you know what, Sam? I think you're pretty much there. The only one, this is just a personal preference.
Rivic.
I think he'll go Rivic, over Bar.
Yeah, and for me, guys, like this is just on a personal preference, and I think this wouldn't be far off from the team he goes with. I'd absolutely love to see Ramirez of Spain start from the beginning in that central midfield role instead of Deli Bashiru. Not because we all know how good Deli Bashiru is, but because Deli Bashiru's minutes needs to be managed, I think, this season. And that would have mean he's played 4 games in a row. And I do feel that Ramirez of Spain has the attributes very similar to Deli Bashiru in terms of the way he is on the ball, the way he progresses the ball, and the way he can keep us ticking in the middle. And I know some people would say, well, you're changing the middle too. Do you need a bit of consistency? I think the fact that we've had the start that we've had, I think the pressure is a little bit off. It'd be great to get a win. Don't get me wrong. I think it'd be great to carry on and sort of run and build this momentum. And the thing that Tom Cleverley says a lot in his press conferences is building a winning culture that's maybe been lacking over the past couple of seasons. But I think I'd like to see Ramirez of Spain. I'd have to say I'd also like to see Bar be given a go from the start. Now looking at that front three, who he comes in for is the biggest question. But I think Bar would be really, really good to start and give him a full.
I think if Bar,
yeah,
I think if he went with Bar, I think it would be in place of Rocco Vata, to be honest with you, because I think it's quite clear that not because Vata's done anything wrong. I think he looks really excited, but he's so raw, and I think probably out of our forward options, he's probably the player that he fancies the least at the moment. And like I say, that's nothing against Vata. He just might not be fully ready yet. So I think if we do see a change from that front three, I think it would be Bar instead of Rocco Vata, and we'd see a front three of Ince, Rajvic, and Bar.
I would personally like to go pure vibes. For me, as starting, I think it's important to keep Bar's momentum up and reward him for how well he's done. I'd have him. I also think it's really, really important to give Vata game time and keep him motivated. Everyone said he would be the signing of the season when he came in. Every time he's played for us, he's looked exciting. I just think it's been kind of game state where he hasn't had the opportunity in the league, but I'd 100% start him. Agree with Jacob. The only thing I kind of agree with Sam is that when you listen to Clevs about, you can't just throw all the youngsters into league games. You need to put them around. But I would like to see something like this. You've got a bit of experience here at the back. Pollock and Porteous. No, Pollock isn't that old. Ken Sema. I'd love to see Ramirez of Spain play. I think Bar, Vata, I think those two are really important to play. And I really liked what I saw of Dumbia last time. But I do think Rajvic is more likely.
There we go. Any thoughts in the comment section? Let us know on the team for Plymouth. I'll be there on Tuesday. Sam, you'll be there. Charlie is saving the pennies.
I'm writing a best man speech, for God's sake.
I'll tell you what. Is there a Watford reference in there?
Still going.
It's all about Watford. That's all I've been doing the last week instead of writing.
All about Watford. Charlie's going to have a video coming up about new signing Pierre Duomo. There's content about Caben, Ogbonna, what's happening at Watford at the moment. And if you could leave a like on the way out, if you enjoyed, really, really good numbers today on today's channel. Predictions for Plymouth, lads? Do we go through? I reckon this goes to penalties. 2-2.
Did they win? Did they win on the weekend?
I think they won.
They drew 1-1 at QPR and went down to 9 men as well. So they're going to have 2 players suspended. I'm not sure as well, because I was thinking about this, if they're going to go back to Plymouth in between the 2 games, or if they're just going to stay down in London, because that will be exhausting for them having to go back and forward. So that could play into our hands a bit. But I'm confident with this one, and I think we'll win this in 90 minutes. So I'm going to go with 2-1 to Watford.
I'll tell you what.
You're not walking back from there.
if you were Plymouth, if we looked at the hotels in the Watford area, which ones are you picking out? You got a Holiday Inn,
Travelodge,
got the Grove. If you really want to push the boat out, I mean, the options are endless, really. Charlie, predictions?
3-1 Eons.
3-1 the Ons. Okay, we're all predicting that we'll go through to the next round. Where do you think Watford will end up in the Carabao Cup this season? Where do you think we'll end up in the league this season? That was the title of this video. What should Watford's expectations be for this season? A huge shout out to everyone who joined us on this Sunday night. A little bit longer than usual, but so much to get into as always. And if you did enjoy, please do leave a like on the way out. Subscribe to WD18. Follow WD18 on socials at WD18 fans. Follow Sam, Charlie, and myself on our social channels. Huge shout out to everyone who watched. And we will see you probably Wednesday or Thursday talking about Watford again after Plymouth and hopefully getting through to the next round of the Carabao Cup. Take care, guys, and up the orders. You want.